Are you a compulsive caretaker? Now, if you clicked on the video, my guess is it's a good chance you are. So, are you? Another way of saying that is, do you suffer from compulsive caretaking? And by that I mean, are you a caretaker and you suffer because of it? Well, if so, take heart. You're not alone. And the good news is you can change it. And the bad news is you probably can't change this pattern quickly, and it will take some work. Hi, I'm Kellum Lewis. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in Pasadena, California, and I too am a compulsive caretaker. And so I want to tell you a little bit about how I'm working on that for myself and give you some ideas about how you might work on it too. All right? Yeah. So I was noticing this pattern, this habit in myself just yesterday. I was doing my administrative tasks. I was doing my emails and stuff like that. And I found myself doing all of the tasks that corresponded or related to somebody else. You know, somebody else needed me to get back to them, or somebody else needed me to do something for them. And I was doing all of those first. And then it dawned on me, I'm doing all of this for other people first. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but all of the stuff that I want to get to, all of the tasks that I want to get to, I'm putting second or last. And this is a pretty old habit in me. So, I started thinking about that and started trying to work with a little bit about that. And so one of the questions that came up is, how did this habit get started in me? Well, I got started in childhood, like most things in our personalities. I was conditioned at a very early age to take care of others' needs first. It was modeled for me by my mother, who was also a compulsive caretaker. But not only that, I learned early on that taking care of others' needs was a really good survival strategy. And so my caretaking started with my parents, emotionally. I took it as my job not to piss off my dad or to upset my mother. And I took that job seriously, and I became really, really good at it. The best little boy in the neighborhood. And to some extent, it's been a big help to me in terms of giving people what they want and getting a few things back in return. And it's made me very diplomatic, and it's helped open me up to other people's needs. So there's some bright side to this. But ultimately, especially if it gets out of hand, it doesn't serve me very well. By the time I've answered all of those emails for other people, I often have no energy left for my own goals. And it also doesn't contribute to healthy, deep relationships. Relationships become transactional, and resentment builds up when they inevitably become unbalanced. So, a lot of us come by this trait through conditioning, like I did, and also, like me, some of us take it on as a survival strategy in a household with physical and emotional abuse and also neglect. Another way that some of us become caretakers is that it just fits our temperament. We're just naturally helpers or carers. And sometimes we become carers to compensate for our self-interest. So that's sort of a different thing. That we're maybe not naturally carers, but we become carers because we've been told that our self-interest is not allowed. We were told that it's a bad thing. And we're usually told that by people who wanted us to take care of their needs before our own. So it could be a compensation, the fact that we become caretakers. So, okay, how do we change if that's something we want to do? Well, it is pretty easy to say, just put your own needs first. That's a lot of the advice that we get from like self-help guides and TikToks and YouTube videos. And it's great advice, but there are a couple of problems with that. Number one, we already know that. We already know we need to put our own needs first, or at least to prioritize them along with others' needs. And number two, if it were that easy, we probably would have already done it. So it is sometimes a little tough to change this pattern. It's gone back for a lot of us into our childhoods. If it's something you've struggled with or have an issue with, feel free to let me know if you feel like you can be that vulnerable in the comments. Um, but it is often a really long-standing issue, so it takes some doing for us to catch ourselves doing it and to try to do something else. And sometimes it means getting out of some situations that are actually not very good for us, some pretty bad situations sometimes, and sometimes getting away from people that may even threaten violence if we don't keep up this caretaking. So we have to be cautious about how we go about it and understand it could take some time. So I've had some success in turning things around. It's been a lot of work. It's taken me a while. And I'll give you some ideas about how you can work with this issue. And I'd love it if you would try it too and just let me know how it goes. So first, what I do is I try to make contact with the different parts of me that are trapped in this caretaking role. So for me, it's this little blue-eyed, tow-headed boy who's maniacally trying to do what he thinks everyone wants him to do. And I talk to him and try to get him to slow down a little bit and to let him know you don't have to do that anymore. Those people you were so afraid of, and for me, mom and dad, they're gone. You don't have to please them anymore. And I let him know I see him, and I see how hard he's working, and I see how much he cares about doing things right. And I try to have a conversation with him, and I ask him things like, what would happen if you stopped taking care of so-and-so so much? And the answer is almost always one of two things, or sometimes both. I'm afraid they'd be mad at me, and or then they'd leave. And then I say to him, and here's kind of the magic part, so what? What if they're mad? What if they leave? And I remind him, this anxious kid inside, we can handle it. I remind him I'll be with him, and we can survive someone being mad at us. And it may not feel good, but we can do it. And we can survive if they leave. One of my favorite sayings about this is, they don't pay my bills. So that's kind of a way of having a light touch with it. But really, there is a lot of pain underneath it and a lot of fear underneath it. And so part of what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to illustrate here is ways that we can build a relationship with these different places, these different people, these different parts inside of us that are afraid and that are operating under old beliefs and old patterns and old ways of doing things. Now, you may be in a different position from me. If someone's mad at you, it may mean that they get violent with you. And if they leave, it may mean that you lose financial support. So I'm not telling you that this is the way to do it in every situation. Your situation may be different. But I am encouraging you to talk to your little kid inside, your little caretaker inside, and hear from them about what they're going through. Start to build a relationship with them, and over time, they'll start to open up to you, and they'll tell you more about the situation that they're in, and they'll remind you of how it was when all of this got started, probably when you were a little kid or younger to some degree. And if you do this, it's going to lead, I believe, to greater freedom and greater satisfaction inside yourself. So hang in there with yourself. You're worth it. Okay, that's it for now. If you haven't subscribed, I'd sure appreciate it if you would. Subscribing helps the YouTube algorithm know that you found value in this video and suggest it to other people who might get something out of it. It also helps me continue making videos like this. And if there's something you'd like to communicate about this video, or you have an idea for another video, or any questions, please let me know in the comments. All right, I appreciate you watching this far. Take care for now. I'll meet you here next time.